So I got to tell you a
And
story.
mhm.
When I was in undergrad, I got to go watch LeBron James in a high school game.
Oh, wow.
As I had a roommate who said, "Hey, we're going to go watch this high school play. You got to watch this kid." There was no comparison to anything I'd ever seen before.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then obviously, he became what LeBron James is, right?
Right.
So
Yeah. Before we begin, here's a quick disclaimer. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or therapy. Nothing shared on this show should be taken as professional guidance. If you're struggling or feel you may be in crisis, please call 988. Reach out to a qualified mental health professional or someone you trust who can connect you with immediate support, or call 911 for emergencies. Enjoy the show. Welcome, everybody, to the Man Up Together podcast. My name is Alex Peskin, and I'm here with my lifelong friend and co-host, Bobby Jacobs. You ready?
let's do it.
All right. So today, I think we're going to talk a little about sports. And so something I've been having on my mind is very important. March Madness is coming up,
Quickly.
and there's a little trajectory going on here that makes me feel something familiar. My Gators, last season, early on, they struggled against the top-ranked teams. They lost by just a few. They started winning bigger and bigger and bigger. And lo and behold, I feel like something's happened again this year. And if it ends the same way as last year, we could have
You'd be in a
another
good spot.
back-to-back championship. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm feeling good about it. You like the Gators too, though. So you must
So
be excited.
No, not even a little bit, right? So yeah, we talked about going to school, went to Florida, but I'm a Florida State fan. It makes no sense.
Don't try and think about it too hard.
I don't. Try. Yeah. It's painful in the past couple of years to think about being an FSU fan, but I'm a fan of the sport, right? And what the Gators are doing, that's impressive. I don't care who you're a
Freaking
fan of.
cool.
A little contrast to my Purdue Boilermakers. Big Purdue fan, went to Purdue for 2 years. Big contrast. They started the season off. They were ranked number 1 at one point, and I think they're down in the mid-teens, and
Yeah,
they're
like
just they're
15-ish.
struggling a little bit with their Big Ten schedule. We'll see what the Big Ten tournament does, and hey, if they can pull a run out like they had a couple of years ago and get to the championship, they
Fun, yeah.
they lost to UConn in a real bad way. But I think
UConn's awesome.
anybody was going to lose to UConn,
Man.
and UConn women's team is looking really good again as usual.
Yeah. And I think they had their 9th undefeated season since 2000 something.
That's crazy.
There have been 9 other ones in that time of all of everyone else.
It's pretty crazy, but yeah, I mean, March Madness, beyond just loving the sport, I mean, it's an opportunity to sit at work and watch basketball, right? I love college basketball, miss college football right now, and we got baseball season coming up. It's on its way.
That's true.
Yeah.
NFL draft.
NFL draft. We had the combine. I watched a couple of offensive linemen running the 40. That was impressive. I mean, faster than I'll ever run the 40, but it was pretty impressive. So love what the Gators are doing for you. I'll tell you that.
Thank you. I'll take that one. I appreciate that. Any reflections from last episode?
I listened to the second episode this morning. It was awesome. I'll reiterate, my wife, still the best parent I've ever met.
Get all the points you can.
Yeah, she loves that. She's waving that banner, and as she should.
Made sure to put that on Instagram too.
Oh yeah. So that'll be that's her birthday present. It's her anniversary present. We'll just keep replaying that one for her. And again, I'm just enjoying this. We've had a lot of fun recording this. We've had a lot of fun preparing to record this. We've had a lot of fun working with our wives. I mean, your wife doing all the social media stuff that neither one of us know how to do.
Nope.
So thank you. Shout out. But then everybody who's interacted with us, it's been a lot of fun to, hear from people at kind of all corners of my life. I know that you've got people that are reaching out to you from all corners of your life. So for those that are listening, obviously, thank you.
Thank you.
Keep it up, and keep on sending us questions. We're getting interaction.
Yeah. So on that note, actually, the first thing that we should talk about is that we've got our first piece of swag.
We do.
And I'm learning some tricks in editing. So here, our new piece of swag, this cool sticker that we've made. You can find it in action on one of our Instagram posts. We think it's fun and a funny kind of thing. And if you would like one, while supplies last, if you are able to send us an email or a direct message on Instagram with a mistake winning challenge,
question, a disagreement. Something we're also looking for is just some interaction on things you've heard. So you could tell us about what your car looks like. Tell us about a story about parenting where maybe your kid drew all over themselves with Sharpie,
If you've
something
got any
like
insight
that.
into how to get Sharpie off,
Yeah.
talk about that too.
Yeah, we'd love to add some of that in.
If you also don't like the Gators, we can talk about that.
Yeah, but at least some mistake swing challenge. I'll let that one go. And yeah, we'll send you a sticker. And if we know where you live, we'll just find you. Otherwise, we might ask for your address. As long as when you receive the sticker, you do something interesting with it and post it on social media as well.
Do something fun.
Yeah, if you don't understand completely, check out our Instagram and see the first way that it was used.
Pretty creative.
Yeah, and that brings us into a new segment that we're going to be starting because the sticker looks like it's having a bodily function if you do it in the right way.
Nicest way to say that.
So the first new segment of ours, we're going to call Why Do Men Like This? And we're going to explore some things that are more stereotypically things that men like.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean all men like them. It doesn't mean only men like them. Women often like these things as well. But some of them are interesting. Why do men like them?
Yeah.
Bodily functions, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
we set out to do this, the whole podcast is about challenging some of these societal norms and questioning where some of them came from. And I think this is a really great opportunity to take a deeper look at some of these things that we know are typically associated with that manliness environment. We're going to talk about foods like hot dogs. Why do men like hot dogs? Why do men like barbecue?
Yeah.
Why is that associated with men? We'll talk about poop. I mean,
for sure.
yeah, we can't not talk about poop.
Uh-huh.
We're going to talk about a lot of fun things. And so I'm excited to break down some of these. If you've got any stereotypically male things that you want to talk about.
But today we're also going to do our first book review.
Yep.
We've got Relentless by Tim Grover.
We've got our
We'll
notes.
talk a little bit about that. So that'll be fun and definitely help us talk a little bit more about sports. And then we're going to do some mistakes, wins, and challenges. This is the first time that we're going to be able to add in listener participation because we recorded the first 2 episodes before posting any of them. So everything from here on, we'll definitely have some participation. So again, get those DMs and emails in. Looking forward to getting things rolling.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's start with our new segment.
Why do I like this?
All right. So, talking about sports, of course, it's fun and there's camaraderie and physical activity, which starting at a young age is something that's important for all children to do. There's something about men in competition.
Yep.
I know women feel that as well.
Sure.
But it just feels like a stereotype as well. But one of the things that I think is a big part of this as well is sports makes us feel emotion and leads to connection.
Yep.
You have people who you root for the same team with, people who are on the same teams with and competing with. Growing up, I had friends who I only knew because they were on my baseball teams. They were on my baseball teams for years. Think about that. This might be a more socially acceptable way for men to find emotional closeness and connection without it feeling the same as what could be more vulnerable and a little bit scarier.
Yeah, I like you brought up the emotion part. I joke sometimes that from late August until January, I let a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds dictate my emotional health during college football season. And I joke about it, but it's also a little nugget of truth in there, right? I think the way you laid that out was perfect because you've got that the emotions that it brings up in you, but then the emotions that you also see the people that are participating in sports exhibiting, right?
Yeah.
We see all ends of the emotional spectrum. We watched Super Bowl a couple of weeks ago, right? And you saw every end of the emotional spectrum, from the exhilarated anxiety that comes at the beginning of the Super Bowl to the end of the Super Bowl, where you see the winning team with the exuberance and just this amazing sense of accomplishment, to the team that didn't win and how those players are feeling after what, again, should be considered a major sense of accomplishment.
Right.
But at the time, it doesn't mean that to them. The Winter Olympics were just on, and I think that I was able to watch such a range of emotions in those athletes. And what's really great about it is you watch those athletes from around the world,
Yeah.
and sports is that universal language that is something that speaks to people of different races, of different genders, of different socioeconomic classes, of different cultures, backgrounds, nationalities. But then when we boil it down, when we look at it and we think of it through our lens of what we're talking about today, there's still that manliness and man up and just rub some dirt on it and move on. I think that's where the whole rub some dirt on it comes from, right? Is
On a field.
from the field, right? And I think that that's where we have the opportunity to take a step back and look at that and say, maybe not. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we think about that in a different.
What if it's
in a different
okay
way.
to be disappointed
Right.
and to cry when you lose a championship and learn that that's
Yeah.
okay too?
There was, I don't remember the player's name, but there was a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and one of the players was listening to the national anthem, and it just buildup of emotion, and you just watch the tears flow out of his eyes. And there was some commentary on that of what kind of manliness is that? And I'm like, that's great. That's emotion, right?
Yeah.
Why is that something that we are looking at and shining a negative light on, as opposed to looking at that and saying, well, this is a person who is allowing his emotions to come out in the way he wants them to come out, right?
Yeah. That was the thing with Caleb Williams
Yeah.
also. First pick 2 years
Yeah.
ago in the draft. When he was at USC,
Mhm.
he lost the game. He went to the stands and cried on his mom's shoulder. And before the draft, some people were talking about that, like maybe, I don't know. You remember that time where he was crying on his mom's shoulder?
Is he manly enough to be in the
Right.
NFL? Yeah.
And he paints his nails.
Yeah.
That I think is the first quarterback to do that. The first maybe male athlete
Right.
to openly do something like that. There's these things that people are focusing on.
But then he also brings the Bears to the second round of the playoffs this
Right,
year,
and
right?
he's definitely it's disappointing because as a Vikings fan, I don't need the Bears to finally have their first good quarterback in their franchise history,
Yeah.
but it is definitely not a problem that he showed emotion and that he expresses himself in a way that's comfortable for him, that's different than how other people do, because he is massively gifted.
Right.
And also, I think, very hardworking. It's silly to judge people based on these ideas of what a man should be
Perceptions.
and
Yeah.
miss all those other really important things. And so
Yeah, it's that
it's
perceived
interesting.
manliness. And I think sometimes that can come in that negative light. I'm a Dolphins fan. Maybe, probably as painful as it being a Vikings fan. Maybe not. We'll see.
You have a history where there was at least one championship.
We have a trophy case with trophies in it, is what you're trying to say, right?
We may not have even lost the game one season.
That is the claim to fame. But we had our bullying saga. And that, to
That's
me,
right.
was such a poor representation of what a lot of young people were looking up to as, well, no, these are the gentlemen that are in the NFL. They're the peak of their sport. They're the peak of manliness or the peak of greatness. And when you look at what was happening in the locker room, man, that's terrible, right? I mean,
Do you
it was-
remember the name of the player who was bullied?
I remember the name of the player.
The bully.
was
So
bullying.
do I.
Right.
And I think that's actually a part of the
Right.
problem, because this was always the culture.
Yeah.
And this one guy
Stood
stood
up.
up and he said, I don't like that I'm being bullied by Richie Incognito.
Right.
The only guy I remember in the
There you go.
story who I think went on to keep playing
Yeah.
eventually on other teams. And he might not have been amazing, but it also
Right.
was a ding on his record for speaking up,
Right.
which that's also really sad.
Yeah. You and I watched Monday Night Football for countless years together. And I just remember there was one intro, it was years ago, where they called the stadium the Coliseum of Manliness. And again, I had no thought about it when I heard it the first time. And as I think about it now, sure, there are men playing the game of football, but what does it take for those men to get to that point? I think it's something that we also have to think about. The coaches, the trainers, their support, their wives, their girlfriends, their spouses, their the fans that are there. Let's be honest, none of these players have a job if there's no fans in the stand. That's what drives them. And those fans are probably 50% female. I think it's just this opportunity for us to take a look at sports through a lens of professional sports. These are the people that have reached the pinnacle. They are the greatest of the great at what they do. And because of that, we've been told that that's maybe who we should be and how we should act. And for some people, sure, absolutely. And we're going to talk about some of those people. And for other people, it's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's, yeah, they've reached that point, but how did you get there and what did it
Right.
cost?
Should we look up to them?
Right.
Hmm.
Right. What's the cost to get there for some of these
Yeah.
individuals? So,
Yeah, it's definitely a
yeah,
big part of Relentless, the book that we
right.
looked at as well. So we'll definitely talk about that.
Let's talk
I
about some athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there someone who stands out for you when you think of growing up? This is
Yeah.
someone that I idolized.
Yeah. So we've been talking about football and like the mainstream sport thing for a while, but I'm a fan of the non-mainstream sports too. And cycling is something that I've always been interested in as an American fan of cycling, right? Lance Armstrong was somebody that just from the beginning was inspirational to me for the longest time. And it was obviously because of his story. It was
Hmm.
the kid who grew up in Texas, really didn't ride a bike, all the things that he accomplished prior to a cancer diagnosis
Hmm.
that then took him and his career to a place that I don't think anybody ever expected it to. And you have a story of someone who put every single part of his life into winning, and the cost associated with that was massive, but for the people around him as well.
Hmm.
He cycled on the U.S. Postal Service team, which ended up costing the U.S. Postal Service a lot of money when the doping, scandal came
Wow. I
out.
know that.
The people around him that he was doping with. One of the things that I've always kind of sat on and thought about with Lance Armstrong was he didn't need to do all that.
Mm.
He had the story, he had his motivation, he had all of that prior to getting into the doping controversy. And so when you look at the people that were around Lance Armstrong, there's the other cyclist, George Hincapie, who was one of his really good friends, Floyd Landis, who was on his team, and then was one of the people that came out and said, hey, we were all doping together.
Mm.
But Lance Armstrong tore people down for a very long time. Everybody that came out against him and said, hey, you were doping financially, emotionally, their reputation, he did whatever he could to destroy that for a lot of people. Now he's tried to repair some of those things. So
Didn't he also, he wasn't the first one to be discovered as doping.
no,
And
yeah,
he talked down about those people and
absolutely.
denied to
Yeah.
the
It
death.
was one of those times where the sport was just completely just infested with doping, right?
Mhm.
And he was the clean one, and he elevated himself to that point. But the problem ended up becoming, right, you learn more and more that it was just this institutional doping. I mean, it was
Yeah.
outrageous, really, what was going on. And so when I look back, I read, he's written a couple of books, his mother's written a book. There's still a part of his story that inspires me.
Mhm.
And I think that's okay, right? Because I think that we talked about who people are and what drives them to be the they are. There's still parts of his story that inspire me every day. And I think about what he's done and who he is now, but then I also have to think about what it costs to get there.
Yeah.
And it was a lot. It was a
Yeah.
lot, and it was not necessarily only what cost him. Yes, it cost him 7 Tour de France victories. Yes, it cost him potentially millions of dollars. He's doing okay.
Yeah.
Right? We don't
Yeah,
need
but didn't
to.
you have a foundation, right? The little,
Yeah, I have one upstairs.
a
Livestrong
lot of
bracelet.
Livestrong bands people threw away. A lot of tattoos people had to think about what to do with that said
You know,
Livestrong
it's right here.
across their back, maybe like a hypothetical
I
idea.
don't know who you're talking about. Uh, but yeah, again, it cost a lot of people besides Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
And that's a cost that I think we all kind of have to think about with our actions and what that looks like. His story is, I would say, not unique in the pinnacle of your sport. There's people that have cheated to get to the top of their sport. He's probably one of the most famous ones that
Sure,
has
yeah.
cheated to get to where he is. And
Bunch
so
of baseball players too.
couple of them, yeah, a couple of them. But yeah, so that's my athlete. He
Cool.
was pretty influential for a long time growing up. I mean, that.
Yeah.
Man, I had a picture of him on my wall in my apartment for a long time. So,
Yeah.
what about you?
For me, the person that stood out most was LeBron James. I'm talking about this because years and years ago, I remember, and we could also turn the game on tonight and watch him play if he's playing. But
Or son?
right, that the longevity is definitely a cool part of this. But I was not a Cavs fan.
Right.
I was a LeBron James fan. It was cool to watch this guy play. I watched Michael Jordan and wasn't a Bulls fan, but when you have these people, these transcendent basketball players, it is so cool to watch these things that they can do that no one else on the court can do. And that was LeBron James, this 18-year-old kid who was bigger and stronger than everyone else and could bully his way down the court. And the only way they can stop you is if all of the Boston Celtics are just punching you in the paint and trying to knock you out.
When I was in undergrad, I got to go watch LeBron James in a high school game.
Oh, wow.
I had a roommate who said, "Hey, we're going to go watch this high school play. You got to watch this kid." There was no comparison to anything I'd ever seen before.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then obviously, he became what LeBron James is, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, and he was so competitive and just so cool to watch the things that he can do and constantly make it to the playoffs on a team that was garbage.
Yeah.
First picked in the draft, garbage, and then start making every conference championship, then start making every finals and never win. And then I think we were in grad school during the decision. And I was a little bit disappointed because one of the things that I loved was watching how dominant he could be when the other best players on his team were Zydrunas Ilgauskas and Mo Williams, and they were fine, but they obviously couldn't get him to a championship. And that was just something that felt cool. Like, can he carry a team on his back? And I think that's not anything against him. I think it's been found that just kind of nobody can do that on their back. Everyone has someone. Michael Jordan has Scottie Pippen. Everyone's got someone. But then he goes to have his super friends and
not one,
lose again,
not two, not three,
win some championships, lose some championships, and then team up with Anthony Davis during COVID and win another one in LA
against the Heat.
Wait. First, he went back to Cleveland and got them their championship.
Right,
Can't miss that. But Kyrie Irving was there, right? You gotta have someone with you, and it was just cool to watch someone who just was different than everybody else. And it's cool to see that, the killer instinct and the talent. And he also was a great person in the community. He gave back so much to Akron, his hometown, and I thought that's
got that
cool.
School that he opened,
Yeah,
for underprivileged youth. He's got some books. My daughter has one of his books in her room. I can't say it's not just it's a LeBron James book, but I think one of the things that I really like, I love your perspective on this, is I loved how LeBron seemingly elevated those around him on his teams. Yes, he played on the super team of the Miami Heat, Wayne Wade, Chris Bosh. There was some good players around him, but he elevated the entire organization around him. He carried a lot on his shoulders. Some people will look at that and go, "Oh, he couldn't do it by himself." And like you just said,
I don't think anybody
can do it, right? Yeah. And that's the whole point of Man Up Together, is when he figured out that he needed to do it together, he found the people that helped him to do that. There's other togethers that we can talk about. You already mentioned, Michael and Scottie, Shaq and Kobe. I mean, there are these together groups in sports that when we talk about Gronkowski and Tom Brady. Again, there's this sense of doing it alone probably isn't going to work out the way that you want it to. What do you need to potentially bring out that best effort, that best possible outcome out of the team that's around you? Yeah. I love sports for the team aspect of it. Yeah, there are some individual sports that people call, like cycling. It's an individual sport. It's not an individual sport, right? There's a lot of team aspect around cycling. And no matter what the sport is, whether you're playing on a team of the people that are playing the same sport with you, you still have a team that has supported you to get there. I don't care if you're doing archery. The people that have supported you to get to that point, that's your team. I don't care if you're doing...
Even tennis. Tennis is for sure an individual sport. Yeah. But you get in trouble if your coach gives you signals. You're never actually alone. You're there with other people who have helped you get there. I like that perspective a lot.
So there's that camaraderie part that kind of just flows through all of it. And you've got people that I think we would all consider really good teammates. And you got people that maybe have suffered, right? Yeah. And maybe their careers would have been different had they allowed that team togetherness to thrive a little bit more.
Yeah. It's cool to think about the ways I've been influenced by sports throughout my life as well. Played a lot of sports. Was not good at a lot of sports, any sports. But I played baseball for 12 years and flag football for 2 years and some basketball for 2 years. And it's such a together experience. And I think you learn so much out there from resilience. Like I wasn't good, but I kept
Yeah.
playing and going out there and being able to learn something about what it means to try hard. And we talked about this in another episode. Wish I had tried maybe a little bit harder if I was going to decide to play baseball for 12 years, but it's something that where I connected with my family as well. We
Yeah.
watched a lot of sports. My family went out to the fields when I was playing, and we went to watch my brother and sister play as well when they would. It's just part of the culture, at least for my family.
So I wanted to bring that up of the other kind of side of this of maybe not everybody that's listening and not everybody that we're talking to plays sports, but maybe they watch sports. You and I have watched a lot of sports together, right? We've sat on the couch and we have watched just an incredible amount of sports together to the point that, we're asking questions at the television and then the commentators answer our questions. I think that is an aspect of sports that maybe sometimes is underrated or we don't think about is what can it do for the people that aren't playing and how does that come into it? Forget the Super Bowl parties, right? The unique events where everybody comes together. There's so many times where I can be flipping on the television, you're at the house where the girls are playing outside or whatever it is. We just find it sports, a game, something, a match. We probably have zero vested interest in either of the two teams that are playing, but we'll just watch the game together because there's an emotional connection that you and I have just about sports being on in the background. And so I think that that's something sports brings people together. I think Nike had a commercial about this at one point, sports bringing people together, maybe Reebok, whoever it was. But I think there's something about just sports in general that brings people together because, man, there's so many things out there that are bringing us apart right now, unfortunately. And sports sometimes can be the happy mediator, unless you got a brother-in-law who's an Eagles fan and then you just don't want to watch football with
sorry,
him.
Bobby.
Sorry, Josh. But going back to watching sports together is something that is truly underrated.
Yeah, and even just watching amazing physical feats.
Right.
I think that's something that draws a lot of people to it as well, just seeing what people can do with their bodies. And
even if
how
it's not
unique it
amazing
is.
physical feats, I mean, guys, how many people spent hours watching, I'm not demeaning curling, but how many people spent hours watching curling in this last Olympics? Because if you watch curling with the guy you were standing next to drinking a beer and you go, I feel like I maybe could do that. You can't, I promise. But like, again, it's that thing that brings people together in a way that having the news on in the background may or may not bring people together in a positive way.
Yeah.
So, I think again, I love that. I just love the way that sports truly is that equalizer in the world. And man, it speaks every language. We got the
For
World
sure.
Cup coming to North America, and I'm excited to try and get to a game here in Atlanta. We'll
That'd be
see if we
cool.
can make that happen. But sports speak every language, right?
Yeah, it's
So.
cool. We're also gonna be able to continue to explore different ideas around sports with the book that we picked today, Relentless by Tim Grover. He was I don't know, an athletic trainer for
The elite.
elite athletes. I think maybe one of his first was Michael Jordan, and in the book at one point he talked about it being his only client because he just said, I don't pay you to be my trainer, I pay you not to be anyone else's trainer.
Right.
And so
Which honestly, if that's Michael Jordan,
you said
that's
yes,
his lawyer,
sir.
right? Like, you can make that
Yes,
happen.
sir. I'll write a book about this one day, and people will talk about it on a podcast. And so it's cool to see that. But it's interesting because the people he worked with, Michael Jordan, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, he didn't name everyone he worked with, but lots of people like that. These are, I think, to be a professional athlete, you're obviously already elite. You grew up being by far the best athlete in your town. Then you all got together in professional sports and there were still people who were so much better than you, right? He worked with those people. And so
The elite of the elite.
yeah,
The
and
1% of the 1%.
right. And so let's keep that in mind with where we go. But he separated these athletes into three categories. He called them coolers, closers, and cleaners. And the simple way to put it was good, great, unstoppable. The coolers were there if you told them what to do and you helped them. Closers were the ones
The
that,
role players, I think,
right,
can kind
right.
of, yeah.
Closers were the ones who, if you told them what to do, they can execute awesome. And cleaners were the ones who would not stop at anything and could make it happen,
Right.
even if it looked like there was no solution. So he's talking about the cleaners throughout this book. And I'm going to get my book out here.
One of the cool things about reviewing books, I
Mhm.
think, is that we're not always going to agree with everything in the book. We're not always going
Yeah.
to agree with the message. And so this is not an opportunity for us to demean the author in any way, shape, or form. Amazing career. I think what Alex and I agree with, though, is that some of the messaging that the author has in the book for us is kind of anti the thesis of what we think of when we think of this man
Yeah.
up together. You know, we'll provide some examples and thoughts and maybe why we don't
Yeah.
agree with it. If anybody has read this book, Relentless, and you disagree with us,
Sure, yeah.
shout it out. We want to hear it. You know,
Yeah.
there's absolutely, you know, value in disagreement and conversations,
For sure.
you know, like that. So
I would love that.
but yeah.
But the first thing that stood out to me, and I'm interested in what you think about this. Before chapter 1, he's talking about Kobe. He got fouled on a play where he tore his Achilles, and he went out to take the free throws, and he had to finish his work.
Yeah.
And he said, and he made them both. Right? Of course he did.
Of course
Kobe
he did.
Bryant.
Right.
But I was thinking about that, you don't finish until you have finished the job. A lot of the language they use, it made me think of, why is this even
How did we get here?
evolutionarily appropriate? And it makes me think that the cleaners exist because they were the ones that kept their nations alive in war. You go out with the torn Achilles in the middle of a war. If you tear your Achilles or if someone injures you in war, you're not call in the backup point guard. No, you keep going.
Yeah.
And it makes me think these were the people who were going to find any way to succeed, any way to
Survive.
inspire the closers and the coolers that were with them in order to survive, in order to protect their families and their homeland and for everyone to survive. And so it's interesting for me to think that type of person who existed probably for very important survival reasons has some version of transformation into sports.
Yeah.
And what can be, at least in the sport, a very successful way. I wonder what you think about that.
I think it's
About, the
I think it's a
evolution
real
thing.
fascinating thought, like especially just thinking about the biology of it, right?
Uh-huh.
You know, there is that notion of survival of the fittest. There's that notion
Mhm.
of you do what you need to do to survive, no matter what organism you are. A one-celled little organism that has to change its genetic makeup so that it can survive, or a human that has to, like you said, go out and shoot free throws, not something that's life or death, but go out and do something on an injured body
Yeah.
so that they can survive, so they can provide for their family, so that they can make sure that the enemy that's attacking their gates isn't able to get through. They can
Mhm.
shore up those defenses.
And I think that's the mindset that they feel probably,
Yeah.
right? Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Lance Armstrong, whoever these cleaners, Tom Brady, they feel there's an enemy at my doorstep, and
Yeah.
and to survive, I have to defeat this enemy, where it isn't life or death.
Right.
If they were one notch less successful because they weren't a cleaner, they would be 100 millionaires too, right? It's
Right.
really not a
Well,
survival
and so that goes,
thing.
there's a line that I highlighted in the book here, and it says it's never enough to just get to the top. You have to stay there.
Mhm.
And I look at that and I go, if that's your mindset, are you ever going to be able to say that you've succeeded?
Well, no, because there was even more about that.
Yeah.
That it wasn't just you have to stay there. It's never enough.
Right.
They're never
I
satisfied.
mean, at one point he told
What's next?
he told, who was it, Dwayne Wade, you can't just win one championship. You're not going to be remembered. You have to win 3 championships at least, and
Right.
then you'll be remembered. And
He
he did.
Yeah.
Go Heat. But again, it goes to that kind of question of at what cost?
Yeah, they're
And
never, and even the toll, right? How hard you have to work to never be satisfied.
Yeah.
That's,
yeah,
I know it's hard. And in the book, he's not just saying this is what people's mindsets are. He's in a way kind of is it glorifying it?
I would say he glorified that mindset and glorified the sacrifice that they made. He doesn't call them sacrifices because I don't think that's the mindset that he wants.
He's a cleaner for sure.
Right.
I'm reading this book and
Yeah.
like, oh, this guy's a cleaner.
Absolutely.
He was Michael Jordan's trainer. To be that, you have to be a cleaner yourself.
Yeah, without
Wow.
question. And I would say he wouldn't call them sacrifices, but for the average human being
Mhm.
that can hope. I don't want to take anybody's hope away. You can hope to achieve whatever you want. But when you look at the reality of what it takes to get to some of those places, I think that's where the disconnect for me is in the
Yeah.
book of, well, no, you can take that same mindset that Michael Jordan has.
Yeah, I kept reading through hoping he was going to get a little bit more clear on the sacrifice.
Yeah.
But what kept coming up instead was cleaners don't stop working hard. They don't slow down.
Right.
Because then they'll start thinking. And then they'll start thinking about the things they're missing out on
Yeah.
and the things that they're sacrificing to get here, which, right, these little pieces come out that say there's a cognitive dissonance here, but we do something to get away from it. We don't
Yeah.
sit in it and acknowledge it and admit it and try and figure out what it means to have balance or what we actually want our priorities to be. We just say, keep going because being the greatest
Right.
at this sport is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's very cool to think about cleaners. It's very cool to watch.
I think
Michael
it's cool
Jordan,
to be
LeBron James, Shohei Ohtani, he's got to be one because
Sure.
it's so hard to be the best hitter in the league and it's so hard to be one of the best pitchers in the league. And so no one has ever done both. He's got to be a cleaner. He's got to have that drive that
Yeah.
makes him sacrifice everything.
And I think the aspiration is great. The aspiration to want that is fantastic, but it's that messaging of how to get there. So there's one line in the book here that says, if you want to be the best, deliver a miracle. And I read that and I paused for a second because at face value, it's a simple sentence, right? Do you want to be the best, deliver a miracle?
Mhm.
But then I went and I literally Googled the definition of the word miracle. It's a surprising or welcome event that's not explainable by natural or scientific laws and is therefore considered to be the work of divine agency. So the expectation is that if you want to be the best, you have to repeatedly do miracles?
You have to repeatedly do things that are not
Explainable.
fair to expect
Right.
to be possible.
Right.
But you have to do that often.
Often,
Uh-huh.
repetitively, continually.
What it takes to get that.
Yeah. And so I think that to me is you can want to be the best and you can aspire to be the best. And I hope that people continue to work towards that. But I take issue with the notion that in order to achieve that, you need to have a miracle. And
Yeah.
also I take issue with the definition of what the best is. So and
Yeah.
having somebody else define that for you. For me, defining what it means to be the best of whatever aspect of my life, the best parent, the best spouse, the best equine nutritionist. There's no competition. There's no written competition. I don't mean that. I'm the best.
There's no competition.
I don't mean that I'm the best.
Bobby's a cleaner, guys.
Just in the equine nutrition world. I have lots of amazing colleagues that are much better than I am. But again, I think there's that like notion of, you have to define what that is for yourself and allowing others to define it or allowing or forcing yourself to define it in the scope of somebody else, especially someone who has reached the pinnacle of what they're doing.
Right. But so what I think I'm understanding is you're saying, what does it mean to be the best? Not just the best basketball player, but
Right.
is being the best athlete, or he talks about CEOs.
Yeah.
Also, he talks about other professions as well. There's cleaner. A cleaner is someone who does things to the unstoppable
Right.
level and relentless.
You could be a cleaner
level.
in whatever aspect.
Right.
Yeah.
That is being the best at whatever that is, actually being the best.
Yeah.
And why is that the priority that you've set for yourself? Because I think it would be very cool to be the best baseball player, basketball player, football player. And if you have to sacrifice everything to be the best at that, if you have to not be around your family, he talks about the dark side
hmm
that kind of brings out this killer instinct and gets you in the zone.
Yeah.
And in order to get into the zone, this dark side has to exist and it has to be allowed to come out
Yeah.
and take control. And he talks about everyone has the dark side, and these guys have the dark side where now they try and get away with more. And this is where people are having affairs and people are making decisions that aren't the best decisions in their lives. And you could think of other people, right? Tom Brady, had he stopped 1 or 2 seasons sooner, maybe his marriage would have been okay. Deshaun Watson was actually really talented, and his dark side was
Yeah.
horrible and abusive, and allegedly horrible and abusive, and
Allegedly.
really problematic.
Tiger Woods. Yeah.
Yeah. And what does the best really mean? And I guess that makes me think it comes back to the idea of the importance of sports.
Yeah.
We idolize these people.
We do.
We grew up playing sports and watching sports and connecting with our family members because of sports. And of course, then we want to be the best. I mean, we learn the only way to be the best is to do that. And it's okay. Is it okay?
Right.
Maybe we don't explore that decision
Sure.
intentionally. Is it okay to say, I might have the physical gifts that could make me one of the best, but to do that, I'm going to have to hurt people that I love. I'm going to have to.
Here's the quote: "Get on my level or get the hell out of my way." Right? I mean, is that
Like, that's something
Yeah.
you'll have to tell your wife or your kids or important people in your life who are saying, are you going to be home for dinner? Or the season ended. You're already going to go train again.
Right.
What does it mean? Let's take this bigger for a second. What does it mean to be a man?
Mhm.
Again, in sport, a lot of it is sports, and it's be the best and be physically the best and dominate and overwhelm other people. There is also a part of us that says be a provider
Mhm.
and be a physical support, be an emotional support, make sure your people are okay.
Yeah.
And we can convince ourselves that greatness is too important or that we're going to have enough money that they'll be okay. But are they? Like,
Yeah.
is that the greatness that they want? Get on
I
my
love that
level or get
perspective.
out. That
Yeah.
I don't know how many people would say, I'm okay with sacrificing my happiness or my closeness in a relationship or my children's parent being present in their lives in order for them to win one more championship or to keep playing, because you don't automatically win a championship if you're the best either.
Right. There's
And
a lot of people. I mean, shoot, Dan Marino is a pretty good quarterback. Never won a championship. Right?
poor guy. LeBron James, again, years and years, he would get there,
Yeah.
but he couldn't do it by himself.
I think it's also some of the things like societally that we forgive, excuse behaviors because of achievements, whether it's sports or otherwise. We can talk about CEOs, we can talk about politicians. We're talking about sports today, so we'll stick to sports. But do we excuse some of these behaviors because we go, well, he can hit a golf ball 400 yards, right?
He said this. He said, Tiger Woods' biggest mistake was apologizing
Yeah. Crazy.
because he had to quell his dark side, which means he can't get in the zone anymore, which now he can't be a cleaner anymore. He's saying he should never have apologized. And he said, but you're going to lose endorsements, and you'll get them back when you win your next tournament. There's this taking humanity out of it
Yeah.
a little bit. You shouldn't apologize. You shouldn't show other people who idolized you that when we make mistakes, we're supposed to say sorry. You shouldn't go to your wife who you hurt.
So you're
Or
circling.
show your family who you hurt. Yes, I need to take accountability for this, because if you won, you would get your endorsements back, and that's all that would matter.
What you're circling is don't show weakness,
Yeah.
right? Because you can't be a cleaner if you show weakness, right?
Mhm.
That those two are like diametrically opposed to each other, and therefore that weakness takes away that manliness.
Yeah.
And if I'll contrast that, I think embracing your weaknesses, embracing your place,
Vulnerability.
thank you. That's manliness to
Yeah.
me, and I think that's the dichotomy with
Mhm.
the mindset that comes out in this book a little bit versus maybe some of the things that you and I have been trying to say and you and I have been thinking about as it relates to this entire podcast. Again, he's helped a group of elite human beings be the elite human being that
Right.
they are.
Who did prioritize
All of those
being
things.
the best at that thing
Yeah.
and sacrificing everything else. He was excellent at helping them continue to stay at the top.
I want to ask you a question. Do you think some of these athletes think about what comes after sports? How do you think that mindset comes about?
Yeah,
You know,
I think in some way you can't. I bet you lots of them do.
yeah,
And maybe some of them even make smart financial and physical choices
Sure.
and relational choices because of that. I think for a lot of them, you can't, because in order to maintain the sacrifice, you can't think about what you are sacrificing.
yeah,
Because think of football,
yeah,
right? CTE and the extreme mental health concerns that have happened for so many football players after long careers is devastating to them and their families. And if you think about that for too long, you retire early,
Right.
which some great football players have been doing
Right.
lately.
I mean, I listen to podcasts, right? Jason Kelsey's podcast, the New Heights podcast he does with his brother. He talks about this specifically. And I think, and I don't want to speak word for word, but he has said, I believe that I am going to have challenges related to CTE. He talks about the challenges that he has with his back, that he has with his knees. In one episode, I remember he talked about his inability at times to get up and play with his children. And, but to your point exactly, I don't know that he thought about that while he was trying to win Super Bowls.
Right.
And that's hard. That's a hard thing to think about, because you have to bring in your humanity inside of it. You have to bring your weakness inside of it. And these are people that, again, are at that top end of their sport. Now, the recognition after the fact, I think, is really important. And I think it's huge. And it's a huge part of it. And one of the reasons I really embrace, I like Jason Kelsey as a human. I think we all like Jason Kelsey right now. It's pretty fun to watch. But
even his commercials.
But I think, again, there's something there of just thinking about the next step for some of the people. Again, some of these careers, for you and I, our career is going to be something that's going to last a majority, a long portion of our lives. For a lot of these athletes, those are careers that are a very small portion of their lives. Now, they may have been 100% of their life growing up because they've been told you're the best. They put everything into sports from the time that they were an infant. I
wonder if
think
that's
about
an
that
interesting part of it too, though. When you grow up knowing this is what you're supposed to do, thinking about not continuing on professionally, or not signing that one more contract, or not training that hard to get that contract up another few $1 million, that this is what I know. Right. This is my safe space, however scary it might be to think about what comes after it.
Well, and in full transparency, right, we're talking from the outside. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't speak to, the mindsets of some of these people, but, it's very easy for me from the outside, again, as a Dolphins fan, but just as a fan of football and as a fan of human beings, I look at Tua Tagovailoa and I look at him, I go, man, you got nothing else to prove. Stop it. Right.
Yeah,
but
one
again,
more concussion, and it doesn't matter if you have $200 million, but you also already have $200 million. So
right.
Call it, buddy.
Right. Exactly. There's a gentleman so I know, I've worked with horses, that I love rodeo. JB Mooney, he's a bull rider, and he was a bull rider that continued to put everything he had from his body into riding bulls. And for those that have never seen bull riding, go watch it. Crazy guys. But he got to a point where he was told by his doctor that if XYZ injury happens again, this isn't hey, you won't recover from this. This is you're going to die.
Right.
And I think what he had said that was one of the things that really changed. It was I can't recover. This is the end of everything. Right.
That might not have stopped other people.
Right.
It makes me think of something in here too, that he talks about it being an addiction to the results. And there's no greater reward than earning respect and fear of others. And I think that is a tricky part of that too. He's calling it addiction, just to help you understand what's going on for them. But
as you as a therapist, addiction has a meaning, right?
That
word has a meaning.
He might be right that it is an addiction to something. Something is only an addiction if it has a possible negative outcome and you still can't stop doing it. So that fits the bill here, right? That it does have some negative outcomes. And he talks in here as well about it's lonely at the top. There's isolation. You can't trust other people. That's where I think this becomes very opposite of our thesis, It's if you want to be the best, you have to block out
Right.
everybody else. And we're saying, and you know what? Maybe we're learning this podcast is not for people who want to be the next Michael Jordan and LeBron James. And I'm sorry, please keep listening. We would love that. But I think it's for everyone else because everyone else probably thrives by learning what it means to rely on other people and trust other people and not find isolation, but find connection that helps us do hard things that are maybe too hard
Yeah.
to do alone, maybe too heavy, too scary. We don't have that drive that says, no matter how painful, you have to do it to get to the next step because you're never going to be satisfied until you keep going. That
Right.
I think most people are different, right? Again, this guy is unique and the people he works with are special, and the people that I work with and the people that most people that we know and we're talking to are people who probably will thrive off of the together aspect of this. It's not man up or together.
Man up
They do the man up. We focus more on the together
Yeah.
of it. And I want to be careful, right? I don't agree with this, but I'm not the one who gets to decide what people's priorities
Sure.
are. And I don't know what it was like to grow up with the physical gifts that can make me the best at anything, or the community that makes it feel like this is my only way to succeed, or anything like
And
that
the
that might cause
mindset,
this.
I would say it's also the mindset that's put into you as you grow up, right? A lot of these elite athletes have been told you are the best from the time that they were in Pee-wee, from the time that they were in elementary school, middle school, high school sports, youth
Go back
sports,
to
all the way up.
Caleb Williams. He
Yeah.
had an apartment so he could go to a specific school to be the
Right.
best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what does that do to your psyche, to your mindset? I mean, psychologists can probably take a long look at this of a person who's told they're the best for 25 years. That has to do something and change how you think and change how you act and change how you react to certain things. I didn't have that problem. I was never the best in any sport. I never had somebody telling me, "Hey, you're going to be in the NBA, NFL, what have you."
But you
So,
do see that as hard because, again, anyone who makes it to the pros was by far the best
Yeah.
growing up. And there's a lot of people who don't make it who have a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Ryan Leaf, is it Peyton Manning or Ryan Leaf?
Right.
First and second, right? He was
Right.
the second, I think by a hair, the second pick after Peyton Manning.
right.
And he was not
Not Peyton Manning.
effective in the NFL, and he had a lot of mental health challenges after that. And of course, it's got to be knowing this is who you are, growing up with you are the best, you are the top 2 quarterback, and you can't succeed in that way. That it takes
look
a huge
at,
toll.
Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
There's another story of someone who generational talent, amazing athlete, challenges on the emotional side of things. And I think now, you learn more about, some of those challenges, and you learn more about him as a person, and there's documentaries and all the things that are out there. But again, he was asked to do things independently while having to do something that required a team. I think there's a lot of, in sports, we can we can do a lot with sports, right?
Yeah, for
So,
sure. And there is one thing to end with the book. There is one thing that I actually really did like.
Yeah.
About the book. He actually spent one decent chapter on this, but it was the idea of mind over body.
Okay.
And in a way, I think that actually is a really important concept as
Sure.
well, because part of what we're doing here is wanting to create community and make people feel together. But another part of what we're doing is trying to walk the walk and not just tell
Yeah.
you, here are the things that you have to do. I think here are the things that you have to do is the body, physical.
Sure.
Go do these 5 steps now and you're going to be successful. I think what we're saying is mind over body as well. In some way, we're saying, make sense of this for you. Understand yourself. Get into your mind. What are you struggling with? Why? Why does that make sense? Where does it come from? And what do you need? First, you need to feel like you're not alone. That's still a part of the mind, right? The body is the one who says, now go clean your car.
Mm-hmm.
But first you have to get your mind involved to be ready to do that. And so that was something that I think that's an important concept in a lot of different
like that.
areas, but he did lean into that as well, that these
Yeah.
people are, once you're at that top level, everyone's physically gifted, but these people's minds are one level above. And I'm not saying you have to have an elite mind
Sure.
to succeed in life, but to focus on what do you need to be thinking? What do you need to be understanding about how you feel about things
Yeah.
so that you can act? I did like that part
Yeah.
of that he
There was a
focused on.
quote I was listening. There was a sports psychologist that I had listened to. He gave a talk and he was talking about motivation and when motivation happens, and the fact that motivation doesn't necessarily happen on the couch. Motivation happens after you take that first step. When are you most motivated to go to the gym? It is after you go to the gym
Yeah.
and you say, "Wow, that felt good. I can
Yeah.
do this." I've had a couple of knee surgeries and I've been worried to get back on my bike. And when do I feel the most motivated? Is after I got off the bike for the first time after that big break, and I'm like, I can do this.
Yeah.
This doesn't hurt.
I like that.
It does hurt, but it doesn't hurt as bad as I thought it did, right?
Mhm.
It just brought up that thought of where motivation comes from and
like that.
when motivation comes in. Again, not just saying, just get up and do it, right? Don't figure out why, right? What's the driving factor behind why I don't want to get on my bike? Am I worried about something? Am I nervous about something? Am I scared of something? But again, recognize that motivation can come in a different order than maybe you expect it.
Yeah. You don't have to be an elite warrior to succeed
Exactly.
at those
Yeah.
things. You actually just have to know that you're not alone
I love it.
in something.
So speaking of not alone, we had some interaction.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we always end with mistakes, wins, and challenges. And once again, while supplies last, if you send us a legitimate submission, we'll send you one of our cool new stickers. And we've got a mistake by someone, and we've got a challenge by someone. So I hope you have a win ready.
I got a win ready.
We'll start with the mistake. I didn't specifically get permission to use this name, so we're just going to say anonymous. But he said, "I've made mistakes by staying too long in places where I wasn't valued and with people who didn't value me. I thought, well, no one else will love me like that. Better make this work." He admitted that this is stemming from confidence issues at the time and talked about learning a lot from that and feeling like things are much better now. But I think that was a really insightful and meaningful one.
And I think it's a mistake that applies to a lot of potential parts of our lives.
Mhm.
You know, as I internalize maybe that mistake myself, it's, hey, is that something that happened in a relationship? Did you stay too long in a relationship that maybe wasn't filling your bucket in the
Mhm.
way that you needed it to? Is it a career move, right? Did you stay and work at a place that wasn't either giving you the fulfillment or maybe you felt was taking advantage of you? Was it, again, there's so many different ways
Yeah.
that
Do
you
people
can
just
take
not
that.
accept you for who you are
Yeah.
in some way? Yeah.
And that's a hard feeling to feel that you're giving of yourself to something that you don't feel like you're getting back from. And that's a really hard way to do it. But what I commend this person for is making that decision to then do something about it. And
Yeah.
this concept of the grass is always greener. And personally, I think I don't like that statement. I have challenges with that because
In
well,
hindsight.
in hindsight, sure.
Yeah.
But it can be real scary to jump onto that grass. There might be fire ants in that grass.
Yeah. I
right?
like that you're bringing that up because I think it's also important to validate that it's hard.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. This person is reflecting on it as a mistake in hindsight for sure. And they said they stayed too long. You know that because you know what the outcome was now. It was also really hard to leave this situation, whatever it was, because it's what we know. And it's scary to have change. And it's scary to think, what if things are actually not better on the other side and might be even worse? And
Well, we
we're
said
creatures of
The
habit.
devil you know. Right?
Exactly. And so I want to kind of hold both sides when someone talks about that mistake too, how inspiring it can be to say, yeah, take that action, and also to know and it makes sense that it's hard to take that action, that it takes time to
Yeah.
get to that action as well sometimes. But thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
appreciate
sharing
it.
this. Yeah.
Thanks for the vulnerability. Thanks for the transparency. So appreciate that.
Yeah. How about a win?
I got to win. So I got to win. We're going to actually celebrate our win. So remember from the first episode, I said, hey, we got to celebrate our wins and we got to be okay celebrating our wins. So we're going to celebrate our win. Got us a couple glasses. And this isn't just a celebrating our win because we like to drink scotch together. I'm going to give a
Not
little bit of
only
a,
because of
I'm going to give a little bit of a story here. So we talk about celebrating our wins. I think it's important too. So the win, before we get into this, before we started recording this episode, we pulled up some metrics and we had over 100 listens to our first episode of Man Up Together podcast. So, hey, that may not be a lot for New Heights or some of those other podcasts, but hey, for us,
we got to start at our
we're
heights.
excited. So thank you to those people who have listened. But why are we celebrating with scotch? We talked about the people, the men in our lives that kind of influenced us. You talk about your dad a lot. I'm going to talk about your dad for a second. So your dad, I will always and forever remember one of the things that your dad said at your wedding. He got all the groomsmen together and he said to us, hey, stick around, we're going to have scotch throughout the wedding weekend. And scotch is best enjoyed with other people. And I remember going to your house a couple of times and your dad made it a point that the scotch cabinet wasn't just for viewing, it was to enjoy with other people. When your dad passed, he left you and your siblings some bottles of scotch, and you all have made it a point to say these are going to be enjoyed with other people.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that I've taken. My scotch bourbon cabinet is open. Whoever comes to my house, it is open for other people to enjoy together. So to that end, it's a win. We did it. We got 100 listeners. Let's
To
keep
manning
going.
up
Manning up
together.
together. So yeah, that's my win, and just another little story about a man who I'd say influenced my life a little bit there. So
Love that.
yeah. So I got a challenge. We had a challenge that was emailed into us. We're going to put our scotch down for a couple seconds here. It's good scotch.
Yeah.
So this one is, we'll give a shout out to Mark. Thank you for one of our first listeners and the first ones to email us at questions@manuptogetherpodcast.com. But Mark sent us a challenge, and I think it's a challenge that resonates with a lot of people. So I'm going to read this out. Mark's challenge was how to overcome a sense of martyrdom as a father and balance self-care against caring for others and having it be okay. And I think that having it be okay part is so important. So Mark, thank you for giving us this challenge. I know it's a challenge that I've experienced of when is it okay for me to go to the gym when my girls are still awake, but I'm going to miss a couple hours with them in the afternoon? Is it okay for me to go on this business trip and miss the vocab parade or whatever it is? Or we have things that we are either required to do, but also things that we want to do that may take us away from things that we have to figure out that prioritization. I think it's a really great challenge for all of us to say, I'm going to do something that makes me feel good and is important for me. And I'm not going to feel bad. I'm not going to feel a sense of martyrdom about that because it's okay to allow that to happen. I don't know. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I like that. I think it's the common way that people look at it. Put your oxygen mask on before helping those around you. That sometimes we do have that idea of, as a parent, it doesn't matter what you need.
Yep.
It only matters what your children need. Yet, it's probably maybe easy to argue that if you also at least find a little bit of room to take care of yourself, you're probably going to actually be a way better parent.
Yeah.
And have more energy and resources and ability to stick to what you got to stick to with them. And you're also teaching them balance. You're showing them that everyone is important and that everyone has to take a minute and that we have to find there are more important things in our life than there are hours in the day. And how do we make sure to make enough space for a little bit of each of them, if not all of one of them and none of the other?
Yeah.
And so I really like this challenge.
Yeah, it's a good challenge. We should all figure out ways that we can embrace the things that bring us joy, the things that bring us purpose, the things that bring us value. So whatever those things are, go out and do them. Go out and embrace that. Go out and grab it. This is bringing me joy. This is bringing me purpose. I'm enjoying it.
Me too.
So yeah,
Love it. And so just as a reminder, we are interested in hearing from you. DM us on Instagram, Man Up Together Podcast. Email us questions@manuptogetherpodcast.com. We want to have mistakes, wins, challenges. Tell us about what sports have meant to you. Tell us about what your car looks like.
please.
Tell us something about parenting that is meaningful for you, a disagreement you're having in your life, a disagreement with us, what you thought about Relentless, the book that we talked about today. We
If
would
you
love
watched
to.
Big Daddy recently,
Any thoughts
pulled that one out of the
thoughts on Big
old
Daddy?
VHS.
Yeah.
Or if you have thoughts on other books, movies,
And other things for why do men like this? I think I have a fun list, and I'd love to keep adding to it because I think that could
a fun
get a
segment.
little more and more interesting the more things we go to. But as always, we are so grateful that you joined us. We hope you'll continue to join us so that we can man up together, and we will see you next week.
The Man Up Together podcast was produced and edited by Alex Peskin and Bobby Jacobs. Special thank you to our wives, family, friends, and coworkers who have supported us in so many ways throughout this process. You can find us on Instagram at Man Up Together Podcast, and you can email us at questions@manuptogetherpodcast.com. If you are interested in joining us on this journey, please like, subscribe, and share this with someone you care about. Thank you for listening. See you next week.